FCC Chairman Ajit Pai is officially preparing for an all-out assault on our nation's net neutrality regulations. Now, this is something that we all knew was coming sooner or later, but the time with which this is actually going to be happening is upon us very soon. We're talking May, we're talking possibly June, that he will be launching his assault on the internet. So according to The Verge, FCC Chairman Ajit Pai has briefed telecom trade associations on his plans to scale back net neutrality rules, the Wall Street Journal reports. Pai's plans will apparently maintain the basic concept of net neutrality, but will move the enforcement of the rules back to the Federal Trade Commission rather than the FCC. But while the Wall Street Journal says Pai's plans will preserve the basic principles of net neutrality, giving oversight of the broadband industry back to the FTC would likely end Title II net neutrality as we know it. In order to do its job under Pai's proposed rules, the FTC would need Title II to be rolled back, as the body is prohibited from investigating common carriers, exactly the kind of enterprise ISPs are qualified as under current rules. It's not yet clear when Pai's plans would come into play, but the Wall Street Journal says it could be as soon as May at the FCC's monthly meeting. The June meeting is also a possibility, but Democrats and other net neutrality advocates are likely to raise objections when Pai's concrete plans become public. So notice here what he's doing. It's really sneaky. He's trying to say that, by giving the FTC the authority to enforce net neutrality rules, he's not actually doing away with the rules themselves. He's just handing authority of the enforcement of said rules over to the FTC, which will not enforce those rules. So, he's still getting rid of net neutrality. He's just trying to do it in a really slimy way, so that way you don't think he's doing away with net neutrality. It's called doublespeak. This is something that George Orwell basically warned us about in 1984, and we are seeing it right now. Now, one thing to mention doublespeak that I want to talk about is, do you know how Republicans recently voted away your right to online privacy? Well, FCC Chairman Ajit Pai actually co-wrote an article in the Washington Post titled, "No, Republicans didn't just strip away your internet privacy rights," and in it, he assures us that internet service providers have never planned to sell your individual browsing history to third parties. So let me just say how egregious it is that the Washington Post is now literally publishing propaganda for the government, but this makes no sense. So basically, the telecommunications industry lobbied Congress, Republicans specifically, to allow them to sell our privacy information without our consent, all for nothing. They lobbied them to get this power now, just so they can do nothing with it. That's basically what he's saying by making this argument. How stupid do you think we are, Ajit? How dumb do you think the average American is? And what he's telling us here is that we should trust the internet service providers that rip us off every single month. And it's not like they weren't already selling out our personal information to third parties, right? Oh wait, they were already doing that. So prior to these rules being repealed, they were already doing that, but he's telling us that they would never sell our browsing history. So silly us to think that, we couldn't trust these internet service providers like Comcast, who have been selling our information without our consent prior to the rules. But this guy he's particularly dangerous. I'd say he's more dangerous than Tom Wheeler, because even though Tom Wheeler also tried to roll back net neutrality rules and proposed fast lanes, he was more open about it. Like he called it fast lanes, but that was brazenly bullshit. But what he's doing, he's saying, I'm not rolling back net neutrality rules. I'm giving the FTC the authority to enforce net neutrality rules, which is technically true, but we all know what's going to happen. So this is a roundabout way that Ajit Pai, who came from the industry, he was a lawyer for Verizon, is going to give his corporate donors what they've been looking for forever. So here's what we've got to do. We've got to act quickly. So in the description box, there will be a link to a page on the Humanist Report website that will provide you with a ton of links and resources and information about how you can get in touch with the FCC and file an official complaint. You can email them, you can call them. And look, I'm begging you to please do this if you care about the internet. This doesn't benefit me. There's not a single ad being run on this page. So if you're a conservative who hates Mike, who hates the Humanist Report, but likes the free and open internet to remain the way it is right now, follow those links and file a complaint. You don't even have to go to my website. I just try to make it easier for people so they would be more inclined to speak out. But just please file an official complaint. You can do that. You can call the FCC And you can make a difference because we stopped the FCC from implementing their anti-net neutrality agenda before. And best believe if we all come together on the left and the right and put pressure on them, we can do it again. It's not impossible, but I think it's going to be more difficult this time because what we're dealing with is someone who is very slimy, who is very disingenuous, who is lying and deceiving the American people at the behest of broadband internet service providers. It's disgusting. So if these changes are coming in May or June, like they're saying they will be potentially, we act now. We have to act now. We can't wait until they're proposed, even though I know that the internet itself probably won't react until the rules are proposed. But I mean, we've got to stop them from even being proposed because this guy's going to fight us tooth and nail. But we have to let him know that we won't back down and that we're strong and that as an internet, we're all going to come together to stop corporations from making the internet a place where it's no longer free, it's no longer fair, where they can censor content and websites that they disagree with. We already see YouTube demonetizing videos that talk about Syria, for example, while promoting CBS News videos about Syria. So we don't need any more censorship on the internet, and the buck stops with us. We can stop this. We just have to come together and do it and put pressure on them and be strong.
Support this podcast by joining the independent progressive media revolution today at humanistreport.com.